Mr. President.
I recognize the Democrat whip.
Mr. President, I'm fortunate to live in a state with some outstanding people in law enforcement. I stand behind the men and women of law enforcement, which includes, of course, our state police, our county officials, and local law enforcement as well. Are they perfect? No, absolutely not. But neither are United States senators. But I find them being held accountable under a system of government which says to the people, you have the last word. And these days, it's pretty clear that many circumstances can be proven by videotape. It's common now for legitimate law enforcement officers to wear a video camera and for the video camera product to become part of the story that ends up destroying lives and holding accountability to all law enforcement involved. That's why what's going on in the state of Illinois now and the city of Chicago is so outrageous. It was several weeks ago when the president announced he was going to send in his own team for two purposes. First, he would send in the National Guard, federalized in Illinois, as well as the National Guard from Texas to bring order to the streets of Chicago. Ridiculous. Ridiculous, and that hasn't happened because the courts have said there's no justification for it. But then he was going to also send in the Department of Homeland Security to go after immigrants. Which immigrants that he targeted? The President of the United States, he said it over and over, every single rally. Rapists, murderers, terrorists, criminally insane. Those are the ones we're going after. So in came the ICE forces. They have changed the circumstances of law enforcement dramatically in the Chicagoland area. The administration calls these ICE agents their dream team. Dream team. Well, I can tell you their dream team's creating a nightmare. They're not seeking terrorists and rapists and murderers. They're going after people who are Hispanic. It is a racist policy, and I use that term advisedly. If you are Hispanic, look Hispanic. If you live in a Hispanic neighborhood, if you happen to be on the street when Hispanics are nearby, you are one of the targets of this ICE operation in Chicago. My critics will say you exaggerate, of course, but I commend to them the lead article in the Chicago Tribune this morning. And let me tell you the story. It's a story of a young woman named Dayanne Figueroa. This is Diane. Diane is an American citizen. She is a mother of a 5-year-old boy. She works in a law firm in Chicago. And in October, one morning, she was headed to work. She decided to go for a coffee to bring it to work, and then got involved in a scene which is almost impossible to believe. But it was all captured on videotape, and you can be the judge. I commend to those who are following this presentation, look up the lead article in the Chicago Tribune. Look at the actual videotape of what happened to this young woman, this mother of this 5-year-old boy. She tried to drive through the 1600 block of West Hubbard Street on Friday, October 10th. An unmarked vehicle driven by federal agents collided with her as she tried to speed away from a hostile crowd. Multiple videos reviewed by the Tribune show this. That is a direct quote from the newspaper this morning. I watched on that videotape as the ICE vehicle, the unmarked vehicle, crashed in to her car. The Tribune goes on to write, seconds after the crash, agents abruptly stopped their vehicle and exited with weapons in hand pointing at Figueroa. And did I mention she's a United States citizen? Agents then forcibly opened the door and pulled her out of the vehicle by her legs without identifying themselves, presenting a warrant, informing her that she was under arrest. As bystanders yelled, "You hit her, we have it on video," ICE agents ignored the crowd and forced Figueroa into a red minivan and drove away. What if this were not Diane Figueroa, but your mother, your wife, or your daughter? being manhandled by this so-called dream team of ICE agents. You would be outraged, and I commend you to see the video yourself. The video tells the story of what they did to this woman. The Department of Homeland Security later released a statement claiming that she was actually at fault, saying, quote, she crashed into an unmarked government vehicle and violently resisted arrest, injuring 2 officers. Look at the video for yourself and you'll find out those were lies. That is not the truth in any way whatsoever. So then what happened to her as they took her away in the red minivan? Well, unfortunately, she was transported to multiple undisclosed locations, repeatedly denied contact with family or legal counsel. ICE, the dream team, is making a mockery of the Constitution when it comes to due process, and it was clear in this case. What stunned Diana's mother the most was that despite her daughter being a U.S. citizen, the family couldn't locate her during this period of time. She said no authorities, including the Chicago police, were able to give them clarity on why her daughter was arrested. Her mother said her daughter is a loving mother of a 5-year-old boy and dreams of one day working as a paralegal and has become an aspiring lawyer. Her record, here's where we got to level and tell you all the facts. What about the criminal record of Diane Figueroa? Her record shows nothing more than a few minor traffic violations, the Tribune found. Her family started a fundraiser to cover her medical and legal expenses. You see, Diane went through surgery, kidney surgery, in August of this year. As you watch this videotape, as they drag her out of the car, kneel on her body, and hold her on the pavement, you're going to think, what in the world is she doing? Are they doing to her? This situation led to a statement by the Assistant Secretary at Department of Homeland Security, Tricia McLaughlin. She alleged that Figueroa used her vehicle to block in agents honking her horn, and that she struck an unmarked government vehicle as agents were departing. But videotapes don't lie, and unfortunately, you can't say the same for the Assistant Secretary McLaughlin. This is an example of what is happening in the streets of Chicago. To say that you're doing this to capture rapists, murderers, terrorists, and the criminally insane is an insult to this young lady who was simply going to work that morning when the ICE vehicle ran into her. She was arrested, detained for hours, luckily was finally released with no charges filed against her. That is what's happening in the city of Chicago in the name of making it safer. It is not making it safer. It's making a mockery of the Constitution. I've been returning every weekend to the Chicagoland area to go to these neighborhoods where this is occurring and meet with the people who live there. They're living in mortal fear. Fear that if you happen to go to the grocery store, you're going to be stopped and asked to prove that you're American. And if you can't prove you're American, you can disappear, literally disappear, taken into the system in a place called Broadview, a nearby suburb, and detained for periods of time that no one knows in advance what they may be. This is not a situation where the normal law enforcement in Illinois is held to standards in terms of arrest warrants and the procedure that happens in arrest. This is literally taking people off the streets, dragging them out of cars, just like this young lady, and taking them into detention for hours at a time with no contact to legal counsel or family or location. This is the type of thing that is outrageous in the name of making America safer. It makes a mockery of our Constitution. I'm sorry for what happened to this young lady, but I hope her story will convince others to carefully watch what the so-called Dream Team is doing in the state of Illinois. And I yield the floor.